You're listening to another Geek Pride podcast. Welcome to Gentlemanly Chats.
Hello and welcome to Gentlemanly Chats. I am the resident beard, Mike Orvey. What is wrong with you?
I needed to cough. That was that was horrible.
We're not even a minute in.
No, but
You've ruined it.
I wasn't ready.
We're supposed to be talking about something very serious today. It's very serious. An expose, if you will. I'm the resident beard, Mike Orvis, and with me, as ever, I say as ever, he's barely fucking here, but with me intermittently when he's not in a strop, it's young Nicholas.
You alright?
Hello, young Nicholas. How are you?
Good.
Little message there.
Yep.
Was it passive aggressive?
Yep.
Oh, that's
No.
good. Let's read it.
From upstairs.
From upstairs. It came from inside the house.
Hasn't changed.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, our girlfriends are being weird. Never mind. We were supposed to say something like birds, eh? Wah.
Yeah.
Wah.
What and yeah.
Ah.
I reckon
We don't mean that.
We could be the next Chuck Brothers.
Speaking of things we don't mean, before I start this podcast...
I love you.
Fuck yourself. Before we start this podcast, I have to make a statement that the views and opinions expressed by myself aren't reflective of Geek Pride or Nicholas Hanchett. They are opinions and experiences that have come through me as a funnel. They are not meant to be litigious. They are not meant to be libelous. They are just the way that I have perceived things to be. For those of you that don't know, you're going to be quite quiet throughout this one.
Can I have an opinion first, then?
You can have an opinion about what? About this?
Yeah.
Well, you can wait.
No.
until I've explained it.
It's about the podcast in general.
It's about the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Yeah.
We got a light on us. It's quite nice.
Yeah, we just finished recording a video for Noob Grind. And the video will go out probably around the same time, actually, because this podcast for the first time is going out within a few days of it being recorded. I'm pushing all other podcasts back, and this is the one that's going out. Because I've been telling people for a month now that I'm going to tell them what went on. It's Tap. About 6 weeks ago now, I was unceremoniously booted from being the bottom floor DJ. I had been there, the bottom floor DJ, for 2 and a bit years, and I've actually worked at Tap for 4 years. Want to mention that our girls are upstairs. One of them's got a cob on, the other one still works for Tap, and will unabashedly defend it because, I don't know, because she gets to be in a position of power there and she likes that, I guess. Sure. No hard feelings, that's an argument for another day. There is so much to tell you that has gone on behind the scenes. There's so much to this story. But what I want to make incredibly clear is that there is only one man that has been the problem. There is only one man that is causing issues.
Is it me?
No.
Oh, is it you?
There's only one man that is going to lead that place to its inevitable destruction.
Is it God?
There's one man
I'm not good at this.
who has turned what was once a thriving hub of alternative community. He's just turned it into an empty husk of what it was. And that man's name is John Terry. For those of you that don't know, John Terry is the owner of Tap and Tin, not the footballer.
Oh, damn it.
Much older.
Who,
even more grumpier than the footballer. It's John Terry, or he's commonly known as JT. Frequent supporter of UKIP. And just general, just not in my opinion, an incredibly nice human being. And I think there'd be several people listening to this podcast that would agree with me. Yeah, so I'm just going to start from the beginning. It's a 4-year journey, Nick, that I took at Yale Tap and Tin, and that's not even talking about all the times I went there from being underaged and above. But yeah, I've been going to that place for fucking years. I'm 26 now. I've been going for at least 10 years. Anyway, so I've written a list on my phone because there's that much to go through. And then, Nick, you can ask me questions and stuff about it.
Oh, about that.
What you want to know.
Okay.
What you think, maybe if there's anything that I've missed or there's any questions that you ask. But to be honest with you, towards the end of what happened with Tap, I can't tell you because the simple fact of the matter is I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened. I was never given a straight answer. I was avoided at every cost. The man acts in a very cowardly manner. I was never directly confronted by him. I was never told what the final reason for me going is. I've been in several meetings before, but we'll get to that because that's cutting ahead for 4 years. So it all started on Christmas of 2011. I was jobless. I was trying to be a bit of a freelance writer, and I was doing okay for money, but I wasn't I was very much on the breadline. So I thought it was probably time that I tried to pick up another job, and I thought over Christmas would be the best kind of job. And I had a couple of temp jobs running about, and so I was pulled in to work the bar for Tap on I think it was like Christmas Eve, so like one of their busiest days.
Yeah,
and I did the bar, and it was frantic and it was mental. But the music was exactly as I'd remembered it from when I went to uni to when I came back. And yeah, like, it was all right. Because I've got a long history with Tap. Like I said, I've been going since I was 16. I've had all kinds of debauchery and madness happen at that place. You know, I went there from the age of 16 to about the age of 20. Then I disappeared for a while. I came back into Medway when I was 22 and have been going there ever since. I now won't step foot in the place. There's no fucking way, not after what's happened. And it's a shame. It's a real shame because it had been a big part of my life for a long time. But I guess there's only so long that you can live in what is essentially a lie, what is a dream, and accept the way the things are run for what they are, and that is terribly and to the detriment of anyone who gives a shit, really. Anyway, so I worked there for 2 months, and then, apropos of nothing, I hadn't been told I was doing bar work wrong. I hadn't been told that I was doing anything wrong. I was suddenly demoted to bottle collector, and this happened about halfway through one of my shifts. I was midway through serving a drink, and JT bowled in and just went, "Oh, you're new, bottle collecting." And I went, "Right, who are you?" Because I hadn't been introduced to him. He at no point, welcomed me to the business or done anything like that. And I know it's a bar, and I know it's a nightclub, and maybe you shouldn't do that. But I feel if you're running any business, you should probably introduce yourself to the staff and, try not to come across as a massive bellend, basically. So yeah, that was kind of the first sign I noticed of his inherent madness. I mean, like, why am I being a bottle collector when I've done so far so well on the bar? Why wouldn't you get new people in? They were understaffed on the bar, and that went in for. I was a bottle collector for about 12 weeks, and it's one of the worst jobs. And like, you go from positions of where you run around the place collecting bottles and collecting cups and stuff, and that's all right because you get to like stop and talk to people. But the job they gave me for like a 6-week period was working outside of the top floor, which at the time was playing like just dubstep and like chart toppers.
What?
It was hell on earth. It was hell on earth because you couldn't put headphones in because you couldn't hear anything, and you were just stood at the top of the stairs making sure people didn't bring bottles up to top floor. And you had to decant their drinks into the cups, And I would randomly miss work for no reason. They'd I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Oh, I'm going to do it again.
Bless you.
Keeping that in for prosperity. They would randomly...
This is real, man.
No. They would randomly stop me from working. I'd randomly be told, not that again. You're not doing that. Sorry, I was reading your fucking messages because you're distracting me. They just randomly go like, yeah, not this week. And I go, oh, is it something I've done? They're like, no. And they wouldn't give me a reason why. But then they constantly send messages about it being understaffed. And I'm saying they because, although the real problem here is John Terry, there's also a complacency in sort of the management below there. And one of the biggest issues I have with my post-tap life is that of his son Mark. But we'll get to that because Mark would be my immediate manager at the place. But anyway, okay. So after about a year and about 6 months of me asking, I was asked to run gigs. So I started sort of organising and running gigs. And that's really when the trouble started. One of the DJs was fired from Bottom Floor. I went to John Terry. You could never go and talk to John Terry, of course. You have to go through someone to get to him. Like he's some sort of weird like magistrate or something. So you'd always ask through him and then you get a message back through him. He'd never directly contact you. The few times I had that pleasure, it was him basically bollocking me or treating me like a child. I asked the DJ because I DJ'd before. I DJ'd at the Ivy Leaf and I DJ'd at the Castle and I DJ'd at the Beer Cart Arms in Canterbury. I knew the crowd, I knew what they wanted, and I thought I could do a good job of it. And I was told no. When I was asked to run gigs, I wasn't actually allowed to put any gigs on for a long time. I was back at the bar working for another sort of 6 months. And quite regularly, he'd just barge in behind the bar and just start shouting at people, just for no reason. Like, there was never any reason for it. He'd disappear with tills, like, halfway through the night. And then, at the end of the night, we'd be told off because one of the tills was missing. And it's like, well, that's because he's taken it. And then there'd be, a bit of back and forth, and then you go, oh yeah, he has taken it. It's like, well, yeah, that's what we told you. There was never, the onus of trust was never on the staff. The onus of trust was always on JT. JT's word is law. We must listen to everything he says. And it was this weird, there's a concept in 1984 called doublethink. And that's where everyone's living in an oppressive government, but they also pretend that they're not and that the government's great. And that's a great example of what goes on at TAP. Because everyone goes, yeah, JT's mental. And then you go, oh, we should probably do something about it then. And then everyone goes, oh, no. He's fine. He's doing a great job. And you're like, it's just strange. It's just a very strange behaviour. It's like almost like a cult of personality. But unfortunately, the man has got a personality that I would say deserves that. There's no niceness to him. There's no...
Blue Oyster Cult, wasn't it? Was it them they did?
Maybe. I don't know.
It was in Guitar Hero. That's all I know.
Thanks for that.
That's me done. That's my input.
So I did the bar for another sort of 6 months. He'd send people home early, even though they were understaffed. It was really confusing. Just very didn't understand it because they were understaffed. And then they kicked out the guy who worked the cloakroom, and that was. To be fair, the first time I saw a sort of semblance of sense, because the guy who worked the cloakroom, he used to drink a lot, and he'd drink on the job, and a couple of times he'd forgotten coats. It wasn't the first time; he'd already been warned about it, and then after a big argument, they let him go, and so I started doing the cloakroom because I thought, oh, this will be a great job. I can sit back during most of the night. It's going to be busy at the start. It's going to be busy at the end. But then I can read comics. And I turned it into a bit of a thing. Like, people would come and see me and chat to me. because I'd know everything that was going on because people would walk past and they'd tell me. So it'd be like, tonight at the cloakroom, and I'd update my Facebook.
I remember that.
I'd update my Facebook. Tonight at the cloakroom, I'll be reading Batman comics and talking about blah 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 blah. And people were really liking it. You know, I was getting like a little bit of a rep, like, oh, is that cloakroom guy? And it was bringing people. I wouldn't say bringing people directly to tap, but it was a nice addition. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't this aggressive asshole that was trying to attack everyone. And the cloakroom. Let's talk about my time in the cloakroom for a minute, because every kind of human insult you can imagine has been thrown my way when I worked at the cloakroom. I've been spit on. Someone's thrown piss at me. No one's pooed on me. Well, that's good.
I tried.
And the basic concept is this. This is the reason why I've been threatened with my life. People have said they're going to knife me when I get outside. You know, just a whole bunch of threats. I've been physically attacked a couple of times. I'll tell you about a couple of those. That's sort of hilarious. But yeah, quite regularly these things would happen, and nothing was ever really done about it until I really got annoyed and sort of said, "Look, something's got to be done." And word came from the top that we should lock the cloakroom door. And what the cloakroom was, Nick, it was a kind of like a cage. You've been there.
Yeah.
There's like a cage area, and then there's hangers where you put the coats.
Yeah.
Well, on more than one occasion, they got this lock for the cloakroom, and they locked it from the outside. And 90% of the time, I was given a key, but there were occasions where I wasn't. Now, the gap in the cloakroom cage wasn't big enough for me to get through. Like, I'm a big guy. So if I had to get out of there in a rush, say there was a fire, then it could have been a very real danger.
Yeah.
And in fact, a couple of years ago, about basically 2 years and a couple of days ago, I shared it to Facebook and shown them a picture. Like, and I was asking, is this legal? You know, to be locked in at the place where you work. There was no bathroom in the cloakroom. Like, I couldn't go for a piss break. I couldn't do anything. And the problem with the cloakroom is people forget their tickets. You put your coat in, you've got a ticket, then you get the ticket. Like, it's really, really quite simple. You get your coat stuff. So yeah, it was difficult because people would, you know, go out, get drunk, and then they'd hand me their ticket, they'd lose their ticket. Sorry. So you've got to stop looking at stuff because I keep reading, and I'm getting incredibly distracted by you. So that would cause problems. That would cause issues because, you know, people go, "Oh yeah, mate, give me your coat back," and I'll be like, "Well, I'd love to, but you haven't got your ticket, so I can't." "Yeah, but you know which coat's mine." I'm like, "Yep, absolutely, but I can't give it back." And occasionally they go to management, and Mark or one of the other managers would come up and be like, "Give him his coat back," and, you know, kind of undermining me, which means that next time they came to get their coat, they'd forget their thing and they'd just kick off twice as hard because I've said no.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a nightmare. And yeah, there were a couple of times where I was physically attacked. Luckily, I can sort of handle myself. I mean, that was why they locked me in. Because I was attacked a couple of times. A guy took a swing at me. There's never any bouncers near the cloakroom. Like, they never put any there. So whoever's working the cloakroom now, like, they're in some sort of danger. Because people are getting patted down at the door now. That's how bad things have got. But you know, people can still physically attack whoever's in the cloakroom. People can still spit on you. People can still throw their drinks at you. And this happened on like a weekly occurrence. Tap opens on a Monday. And that happened as like a weekly occurrence. I would get, you know, these threats and things like that. People would kick off at me outside the building, and you'd say about it next week, and you'd get replies like, "Yeah, well, you know, that's outside the building. It's not our problem." I'm like, well, okay. But what's quite funny is this mentality of outside the building, not my problem, didn't extend to Wix's car park, where John Terry has his car parked because he's got a little deal with Wix. So the customers who would sneak booze in would go into that car park and drink, and they'd leave drinks and stuff. And then when Wicks complained to Tap, we were the staff that had to clean up after them for Wicks's car park, all because John's car's parked there. So we had to clean his parking space, because then he couldn't park there if we hadn't done that. You know, little things like that. Just like, you know, all these little things. And there's never a thank you. There's never a you've done well. There's never a pat on the back. And if you and the one time I ever got that, he was drunk. So then I started promoting nights, and as best I could. And the problem with a lot of the kind of younger bands is they don't know how to be bands, you know, and sometimes they didn't turn up. That would happen. But the biggest problem was my nights used to be cancelled. They used to be cancelled on like a whim. So, and when I say on a whim, I mean I'd turn up an hour before the night was ready to go, and I would be told by John, or through someone else by John, it was never by John directly, that the night was cancelled. So then I'd have to go down to the cash point, and I'd have to pay the bands from my own money, and hope I was getting my wages that night. Because sometimes I'd get paid for being a promoter, sometimes I wouldn't, sometimes I'd get a little bit extra in my wages as a cloakroom dude, sometimes I wouldn't. It was all very sort of up and down and very, very strange. He didn't know my name for 2 years. Like, I worked there for 4 years. For the first 2 years, he didn't know my name. And then even then, he kept calling me Orville. Like, he couldn't remember my fucking name.
Oh, the little duck.
Yeah, like little fucking duck.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Made the managers. He made the managers work like dogs. This is what I said at the start of this podcast. I said that there is one problem, and it's John. You know, the other managers have acted in the ways they've acted because they're overworked, because they're fucking tired. I've got stories of him making Mark work 20-hour shifts. You know, I've got stories of him turning up outside managers' houses, banging on the doors at like the early hours of the morning, asking them that there's a problem at the club that he couldn't ring them about. You know, if you ever ignore his phone calls, then you just get abusive voicemails, and it is like working for him is like being a victim of abuse. Like, when you meet someone, you think, oh, they're cool. I mean, this never really happened, but this is the way he's treated promoters in the past that I've seen come in. When they start, they're the best thing since sliced bread, and they're his best friend, and he'll buy them meals and fucking take them on drives, and he wants to talk about everything, and we're going to revolutionise tap, we're going to make it the way it was, it's going to be incredible, blah, 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 blah. Within about 2 months, then they're just a constant victim of his abuse, and then he starts using them as a mouthpiece. So the promoters are the one that's having to tell you that the night is cancelled, and he's gone through multiple promoters in 4 years, and there's got to be at least sort of 5 or 6 promoters that have come in and left again. He fired his son's wife from the position of social media. With about a week's notice,
right?
Yeah. You know, it's just lots of things like that. And then got some kid in to do the social media, and she never did anything. The page wasn't being run for a good like 6 months, and then they've got someone else in. And I don't really follow the tap pages, so I don't know how well that's going. There's a period of time where another guy owned Tap for a while, but that's really convoluted, and they're tied up in all kinds of legal stuff, and I don't know what the statute of limitations on that is. I don't know if I can talk about it. I don't know if I can. So I'm going to just ignore that period of time, but let me fucking tell you, it was hell on earth, and the guy's a massive, colossal jeb end. And I never thought I'd say I was happy to see John return as full owner of the tap, but I was. Nights would be cancelled. I've run at the tap a quiz night, a band, several band nights, metal nights. the times that nights would go on would be given within 24 hours notice. So you'd be advertising that you were open at 8, and then on the whim of John, you might be open at 6, or you might be open at 9, or you might be open at 10, or if you're running a metal night, you might be moved to another room with no notice. It will just happen on the night, so it would just be there. It would just be matter of fact, and everyone ran like it was totally fine, and no one could see that it was mental, or at least they didn't act like it was. Then they got a new DJ in, and this was about October of 2012, and he was there for a while, and he wasn't good at all. There were constant complaints, and now I'd been asking for 2 fucking years to be a DJ. You know, I've been a DJ before. You know, I'd like to do it again. Blah 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 blah. So eventually, I'm given my shot, and I did well. The guys liked it. I mean, you've seen me DJ there. What would your opinion be of me?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I like to interact with the crowd. I like to kind of get them going. You know. And it was after about a year. That's really when the problems started, and then it was a year of fucking hell. So like after sort of round about 2020, end of 2013, I was pulled into a meeting, and I finally like a real meeting with John and Mark was there, and whatever promoter at the time was there. I can't for the life of me remember. It might have been a guy called Dean, who again, like I just for the 5th fucking time, I just want to point out I've got no animosity towards any of the other staff. I feel sad about what happened with me and Mark. And the only problem I've got is that of John Terry, because I think he's destroying the tap from the inside out. He's like the worm in a fucking apple. He's just rotting it from the inside, and no one seems to be able to do anything because of these utterly bizarre decisions he makes. Anyway, so he brings me in and basically gives me this fucking speech, like J. Jonah Jameson giving a speech to Peter Parker, like, "Hey kid, I like your moxie. You know, I've heard on the grapevine that you're looking to be a DJ. Yeah, it's only taken you 2 years to hear on this fucking... How long's this fucking grapevine? Like, where have you been? The Amazon. You know, I know you've not done it before, but I'm willing to give you a chance. Oh, well, actually, I have done it before. And he cut me off. And every time I tried to tell him that I've DJed before, he'd be like, yeah, I've picked you off. You know, I've pulled you out of the ranks. I'm really proud of you. We're gonna really go far, and I'm gonna revive the Tap and Tin label. And this label was, you know, a shambolic affair that raised one good band, and I can't even for the life of me remember. That then tried to just coast off the fact that the Libertines played there once and now twice because of the fact they played there that one time. Yeah, and kept going on that he wants to revive radio and he thinks I'm good for it and blah 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 blah. All in all, it didn't happen. It was all kind of fell flat. Anyway, so but what I had to do was change the programs that I was DJing on, and to be fair, you know, they had a point. One of the other DJs had seen the fact that I was using iTunes. Now, I was using iTunes because it was super easy to make. My laptop was fucking terrible. I used to use a program called... I can't fucking remember what it's called. But I didn't see the point in it, you know, and it was doing the job. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But another DJ had seen me do it, and he was like, you know, this guy's not using proper equipment, blah blah blah. So John pulls me and is like, yeah, you need to be using proper equipment. And I'm like, okay, it's totally fine. When I have the money, I'll buy a new laptop and I'll use, you know, I know what I'm doing with the equipment. It's not a problem. So anywho, 2 months passes and I get dragged to another meeting because I've not had the money to get a new laptop.
Yeah. No,
sorry, I had a new laptop, but I couldn't transfer the files over because I needed an external hard drive. And I didn't have one, and apparently no one in my friends had them. And Mark gave me the money for a new hard drive, which came out of my wages. over a course of about two or 3 weeks. I got the hard drive, moved the music over, and everything was gravy. I downloaded Virtual DJ, I think it was. It's Virtual DJ. And just kind of, it was very similar to the program I used before, so I learned it very quickly and was DJing in that. And that was fine. I was basically left alone for 2 or 3 months. And then I was dragged into another meeting, and I was told that sometimes I look at my phone. And yes, I do, because the problem with the new social media people since Mark's wife got unceremoniously booted out is that they don't really interact with the fans while the night's on. Which you think they do. You think they do that. So a lot of people were sorry, that message was ridiculous. A lot of people were messaging me saying, oh, what time are you open till? Can you play this song? I was getting a lot of requests, so I'd be checking my phone. And yeah, I'd be sort of messaging people and stuff like that, and I kept complaining about the phone. I kept explaining to them, well, your social media person is not doing, the job that they said they were doing, because I'm the one getting messaged about songs and cloakroom and things like that, and people would come up and ask me a whole fucking myriad of questions while I was on my set. And that was this big bone of contention for them, and it was really, really strange. I didn't really understand it. And then after that, I got dragged in again and was told that I don't play. I play too much metal. Now, for those of you who know me, metal's kind of quite a subject close to my heart, and every week, what I've been doing for now a year and a half was giving a solid block of an hour of metal and rock, because that's what the tap used to do. They used to have a whole fucking floor for it, so I thought an hour would be nice. And I was always playing kind of new stuff mixed in with old classics, and yeah, this is when they said, "Oh, you're playing too much metal. It's driving people off." Now, what I should mention is that there's another gentleman who owns another nightclub who lives in Rochester. I won't name him for legal reasons, but his name rhymes with Sharon Crone. He owns quite a lot of places in Rochester. And is best buddies with JT, so he'd turn up, and if anything wasn't to his liking, he'd kick off and spend the night texting JT saying it's the worst thing in the world, absolute disaster, blah blah blah. Another coward of a man who won't sort of talk to you directly if you've got a problem, which is a shame. I tried to do business with him from my day job, and yeah, got ignored. And that's another problem. I'll explain that in a minute. So yeah, he'd turn up and go, "Oh, you're playing. Oh, your DJ doesn't care about anyone. He's playing too much metal. Blah 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 blah." So then I get dragged in this fucking thing. Don't play too much metal. Stick to the classics. Blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool, not a problem. You've got to make the crowd dance. You've got to make the crowd dance. I'm like, okay, well, I have been, but I'll do it more. They're like, yeah, cool, yeah, play chart stuff. I'm like, yeah, cool, not a problem. So I find a new niche. For 6 months, I'm the rock and metal set is getting kind of pushed around. I'm always playing it at a different time to keep people on their toes. I'm playing the best of like dance, fucking classic R&B, soul, funk, Motown, pop, little bit of like indie, pop punk, loads of stuff, all big charty floor filler things. And I had a crowd, massive crowd, loads of people dancing. Anyway, Mr. Rochester comes down again with his cronies. Another man who doesn't like to talk to you directly, used to send girls up to ask for song requests. And then would get the right arsehole if it wasn't like the next song on. But would send the girl up to tell you that. And then legitimately one time sent a girl up who very sadly and kind of forlornly said that she's been told she'll offer me fellatio if I play her and not play their song. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to do that. There's no universe where that's going to happen. I will play your song in a few songs' time. And I typically did play his songs, but it was never as quick as he'd liked. So there'd be another flurry of explosive text messages that would then get sort of watered down to me. I'd be pulled into another meeting, and more complaints. So this time, your set's too commercial. We're a rock club. We want rock. I said, okay, but you told me not to play rock and metal. Oh, well, no, we didn't mean that. I'm like, okay, fine, not a problem. Oh, you're saying it's fine. Is it really fine? I'm like, yes, I'll play it. It's not a problem. So then another 3 months goes by, and I'm told that I'm playing too much rock, and the metal is clearing the dance floor. And for quite a time just before I left, I was playing about 5 metal songs, and I can tell you what they were. And if you're a metal DJ, cover your ears because this is going to hurt. I played "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor," "Soil's Halo," "Psychosocial" or "Duality" by Slipknot, "Toxicity" or "Chop Suey."
Oh yeah.
And maybe "Beautiful People" by Marilyn Manson. Songs that have been played at the tap for more than 10 years now. And my final, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but the final time I played, I got a raw rollicking for saturating the night with metal. I played 5 songs. I think they were just looking for excuses at that point. I still don't know. I don't know why I've been fired, and I'll explain all of this. And this isn't me crying for attention or saying, "Oh, I want to come back," because there's no fucking way I go back. It's like I said before, it's like being in an abusive relationship. Once you've left, you kind of realise that, you were a complete fucking fool to put up with all that nonsense. But you did, because, you thought, I don't know what you thought. So, where was I? So for one night, for example, here's another example of the utter madness. One night, I'm playing a set. Everything's going well. Everyone's dancing. And JT walks down, gives me a mean look, grabs the promoter, screaming in his face for a good 5 minutes. And the promoter walks up to me and says, "This is going to sound mental." And I went, "No, it won't. I know where it's come from." And he says, "You're using too much blue in your lights." I went, "What?" "You're using too much blue. It's depressing the customers." And I said, "Well, not to be contrary, but look at the dance floor. Don't they look depressed?" And they're all dancing and screaming and shouting. And I said over the mic, I was like, "Put your hands up for me, tap and tune." And everyone's like, "Woo, yeah." So they don't look depressed. So yeah, I know. Just if you can pretend I'm shouting at you right now because you told me to come and bollock you. And I was like, okay. They said, "Don't use any more blue in your lights." I'm like, okay, not a problem. So, yeah. That's the sort of levels of utter confusion and madness that we've had to deal with. Anyway. So, I get told, nothing, really. Everything I appear everything's going fine, and I think, okay, I'm not playing as much metal now. Everything should be fine. The crowd's happy. Everything should be good. Then I get randomly told that with about 24 hours notice, there isn't a lot of time here. I've spent the rest of the week going, yeah, I've got tap on Monday, like I have done for 4 years. I'm going to be in there from fucking, 10 till 3. And, yeah, I then get told that my set's been cut. And I'm going to be doing 2 hours. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess I'll be doing 2 hours then. And, yeah, then I get cut again. Then I get told that I won't be doing it that week. For reasons I don't know, again. Then my second to last week of Tap, I was asked to come and stand and watch a DJ play for 2 hours because maybe I'd learn something. I was paid to do that, and so I stood there watching him and going, "Yep, he's doing pretty much the same thing I'm doing." And he felt awkward about it, and I felt awkward about it. He said, "I'm really, really sorry about this, dude." I'm like, "No, it's not you, dude. It's not you at all." A guy's called Scott Silby. He's an excellent DJ. Book him for parties, bar mitzvahs, and whatever DJs do. I think he's still DJing there, and if he is, I haven't heard you since I last saw you, but you sound like you're doing a great job. I can only imagine you're still doing a fine job. Like I said, I've got no problems except for one guy, technically two, but one guy in particular. So yeah, and I text Mark the week before I was asked to fucking just stand there. I said to him, before I get inevitably fired, I just want you to know I've only ever done everything that was asked of me. Because I have. There's one thing I didn't do, and it was to not check my phone because people were still texting me. And if there were sessions where I hadn't, I'd get a bollocking from people because fat people would go and say, "Oh, my song request wasn't played." And it's like, well, do you know what I mean? I don't fucking... What do you want? What do you want from me? Yeah, and I text Mark and said this. I said, this is what's going on. If I go, I just want you to know I've done everything I can. Why are you getting emails from Tumblr?
I don't know.
Click it. Click your little email from Tumblr. To Nick Hanship from Tumblr. Did you have a Tumblr?
I had an account to look at people. That was it. But I haven't had an email for ages.
I bet you've got some deep thoughts on your Tumblr.
I do. It's just beautiful. It's all black and white and cats.
Anyway, so I speak to Mark, and I don't get any reply. And then he walks past me when I'm standing there looking kind of forlorn at this DJ, like, oh, and make eye contact with him. Not a word. Didn't say a word to me. And since all of this kicked off, he's not said a single thing to me. Now, that might seem weird, like, because he's, like, my manager and it's his dad and all that kind of stuff. But, like, I looked after this guy's house. I house sat for him for a week. I've arranged, like, birthday gifts for him. I bought his kid a fucking, like, Batman onesie when his kid was born. We're friends, as far as I was aware. And turns out we're not. And so I don't hate him. I'm not like, oh, this guy's an arsehole or anything like that. I'm just a bit sad that John's got this weird power over everyone. I don't get it because he keeps making weird decision after weird decision. None of it makes sense. None of it adds up. If you're running a nightclub, you don't just cancel nights. He must be pouring money into these things because if you're a bouncer, for example, and you've been booked on for the night and then the night's cancelled, you've still got to be paid. You still got to be paid for that. So where's that money? Like, why are you continually sinking money? I don't get it. And I found it incredibly ironic that less than a few weeks after Metal Night was indefinitely cancelled, they started announcing they were going to put on metal bands, and it's like, well, you can't do one thing and not the other, and I guess that it's all the decisions were there for the money, but it doesn't make sense because most of these decisions lost money. I was quite the character downstairs. I've got statuses went up when I've played, and I've still got a lot of the Tap regulars, and I'm not seeing them post about Tap anymore. And whether they were doing it because I happened to be on their Facebook feed, or there's a slight possibility that I was actually good at my job, and engage the crowd, because that's what a fucking DJ does. They play to the crowd that's there, and I think I was pretty good at doing that. So this carried on, and I still didn't know what was going on. I was never told officially. And there's another DJ there who's a friend of mine. I won't name him, but he's a friend of mine. Happened to be at Tap randomly and said, "Oh, hey, have they told you what's going on yet?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Do you want me to ask them?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, if you can." And he's the one that broke the news to me, because once again, John didn't speak to me. Now I've bumped into John in the street since, like while all that was going on. Not a fucking word to me. Not a word to me. Not a hello. Nothing. Like, it's cowardly. It's baffling behaviour that I don't understand, and I still to this day don't know why I got fired. Because I annoyed Mr. Rochester, maybe, I don't know. Why his opinion has any effect on how a club is run, I don't know. And maybe this will provoke a response. Maybe he'll kick off. Maybe he'll in his like Wicked Witch of the West, staring over the crystal ball like, "I'll get you and your little dog too." Maybe that'll happen. But I just wanted to let people know from my end, because I've been asked this so many times, and we're at the 45-minute mark and I basically haven't stopped talking. This is the kind of place it is. This is the kind of toxic double think environment that you have to accept if you want to work there. And it was stressing me out, and it was making me ill. And I'm glad to be gone of it. I'm glad to be fucking out of there. I've taken a break from DJing altogether because I just thought, fuck that. You know, it was giving me Nam-style flashbacks. And it's not my main job. And speaking of, my main job is in sales. I sell a certain product. I won't talk about it in great detail, but there's another thing that happened. John was ready to do a deal with me for the tune of quite a lot of money, and then just backed out of it with little to no communication from him. He just kept asking me the same questions that I kept answering him, and then he just left me in the cold for 6 weeks. And the term passed, and it was my first sort of time. It was my first couple of months in the business, and it just made me look like a colossal dick. And luckily, I've repaired that now. I've got bigger fish to fry, so to speak. I've had deals in things are my work life's fine. Thanks for asking. But yeah, just this really bizarre and cowardly behaviour that I don't understand. Because I would have loved just to sit down with him and go, "Hey, what's going on?" And please believe me, listeners, that's what I did. I sent him texts almost daily, just going, "Hey, are we going to sort this out? Like, I think there's some sort of colossal misunderstanding here. If I've upset anyone, please give me the opportunity to apologise. I don't know what's going on. Please tell me what's going on." And he never told me. What I did hear behind closed doors and through a source there is that they once heard him complaining that I turned up for my shift and then I left at the end of it. Because I don't know. I don't know why that's a problem. I don't know, really. I don't know. Nick's looking at me utterly baffled. They all knew I had a day job, and I was staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I was coming home. It took me about an hour to get to sleep, so I wasn't going to bed till like 4. Then I'm up again at 7 to then get to work. So they knew this. So they knew what am I going to do? Hang around for a cheeky fucking beer? I need to sleep because I have a day job. They knew I had a day job when they gave me the position of DJ. Because they're not open enough weeks for me to go, "I'll sack the day job. I'll be a DJ all the time." So yeah, I hope that answers or doesn't answer some of your questions. The truth of the matter is, I don't know. I've just been told that I'm not working there anymore. The paychecks have stopped. I've never had a complete answer. But I want to refer back to an article that John Terry was in a while ago that got him into a bit of hot water. He was asked about the Medway music scene. He said, "Yeah, the Medway music scene is dead." And that's not strictly true, but it is struggling. And the reason it's struggling is not because, because we have a council that likes to shut down venues because of noise complaints, but also people like John, who cancel nights within an hour's notice, who don't provide the service or attributes of a night that he promises out to the world. He's a man that consistently reneges on things he says. Plans are consistently put on the back burner at a moment's notice. It's like following a toddler who's just going, this, I want this now this, and you just have to kind of follow along with it, and everyone's smiling and going, yes, John, absolutely. And I don't understand it. Maybe it's this kind of, maybe they know, like maybe they know something I don't. Maybe he's sick. Maybe, you know, he's an older gentleman. Maybe they know something I don't. Maybe they're just playing out his final wishes. I don't know. But it's an utter fucking madness that I will never go fucking back to again. I think that's pretty much my story. We've got like 10, 15 minutes. Have you got any questions? Is there anything you want me to go over? Is there anything that's sprung to your mind that you think I've missed? I'm gonna have to drink a lemonade because my throat really fucking hurts now.
In the whole image of like you and Toto with the little dog, do you have the red high heels on as well?
You're the fucking worst. Do you know that? Do you have a real question for me? Oh. Yes, I'm wearing the red high heels.
Good. That's all that matters.
Do you?
No, just like, I don't know.
Well, you've just listened to 45 minutes of four. I've condensed 4 years into 45 minutes. There's loads more I could tell you about. You know, regularly like misplacing equipment and never replacing it. You know, microphones, mic stands.
I reckon he's doing it dodgy.
What?
He's doing it dodgy.
What do you mean he's
stealing
doing
stuff, taking more money?
You reckon?
Yeah.
That's not my opinion. I don't know. I mean, that's your opinion, okay?
From the sounds of it, it's all very hush hush. He's like a paranoid child, from the sounds of things.
Possibly.
And he lashes out to keep the attention elsewhere.
Yeah.
And not him. And the fact that he's so secretive, like, it's not hard to be a manager of people. You just occasionally check in with people, see how they're doing.
Yeah.
If you got a problem with them, be a man and talk to them yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of delegating to other people because you don't have the time because you're too busy doing other stuff that you don't want people to know about.
Maybe he's a spy.
Maybe he works for the government.
The government! No, he had a UKIP party. You can't be.
Maybe he's Nigel Farage.
In a real shit costume.
Is it Farage or Farage?
I don't fucking care.
Farage.
Man's a dick.
Yeah.
Either of them, really. But yeah, so anything else? Or is that your 2 cents?
Can I see you in the high heels?
Yeah, later. Yeah. Cool. So how was your week? We got 7 minutes.
I've got some silica gel.
We got some silica gel.
I'm happy.
From the Assassin's Creed Syndicate box. That's nice.
And it's really hard to type quietly and click quietly on a Mac.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe you should have been paying attention.
I was.
Instead of checking your emails and distracting me. Cool. All right. Well, that's it, people. That's the story. If you have any further questions, I'm willing to do another session. But I'm not doing it until I've got like at least 10 questions because it's just madness. Hi, Farley. I bumped into her yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Spoon's World Buffet, and she was with her gentleman, who I've never actually officially met.
Oh, Ray's lovely.
And I saw her, and I saw him. I went. She had a mouthful. I was like, "Hello." She went, and I went, "Right, you've got your mouthful. You're with your boyfriend. I'm out for a meal. You weren't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this. We'll talk on Facebook. We should probably podcast soon. You look great. Lovely to meet you. I'm going to continue eating now. We good? Social media? Done? Brilliant. Talk to me later." She was like, I'm like, brilliant, wicked. And then we kept bumping into each other in the food sections. I was like, awkward. This is awkward now. And then when she finished her meal, she came over and gave me a hug and was like, "Hello." And so I said hi to Ray. And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, I was busy when you guys had your party." And I was like, "Let's get you down for a podcast." she's like, well, when? I was like, whenever. So I think we're going over there to do a podcast soon.
Ray's beautiful. He's amazing. We had a double date.
All right, you want to fucking go out of him?
Yes, please.
You want a new fucking best friend?
He thinks,
Ray and Nick's Gentlemanly Fucking Chats?
He thinks that... no, what was it? Guacamole is made out of avocado. Yep.
Yeah?
He goes, isn't that the delivery service that you get food from? No, that's avocado. That's the one.
Brilliant. He sounds like a glorious simpleton.
You're
probably a very lovely man, Ray.
I love him.
You seem great from the couple of seconds I saw of you.
He's going to leave Farley and go out with me.
Okay. Where does that leave Lily?
With Farley.
Sitting upstairs on the sofa looking at her phone.
Yeah.
Great. Girls are awkward.
Boys are cool.
Tap's a fucking hot mess and not in the Kesha way.
And so am I. In the Kesha way.
Keep it geek. Nigel the horse says, chase your dreams. And keep it geek and see you next week.
Bye. Did it first.